La Liga kicks off this weekend, kind of, because there's no Real Madrid or Barcelona. It's a staggered start. They will start the weekend after. So it all starts with Alvarez against Getafe, Sevilla against Rayo Vallecano on Saturday. Sid Lowe is here. Sid, I imagine you have some opinions on this.
Let's try that again, shall we? Which opinion would you like me to have?
No, you just tell us. What do you think about this staggered start, Sid?
I think the thing that's so frustrating about it was that it really wouldn't have been that difficult to have just waited a week. Just wait a week. You know that you've got a whole load of players who are going to reach the World Cup semi-finals, which is ostensibly the reason why you wait. I think even within that, you could say, well, why is it that Atletico Madrid start on Wednesday and Barcelona and Real Madrid start a full week later? You've staggered the games all across it. On top of this, you've had the extra problem, of course, which is that this weekend, the Celta de Vigo-Osasuna game has been postponed because of a problem with a pitch, which basically means that the opening weekend of the season has got only 5 games in it.
Of those 5 games, where should we be focusing, Sid, I suppose?
Well, you should be focusing on me, obviously, Daniel. I'll be at Sevilla on Saturday night against Rayo Vallecano.
Oh, what a treat. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sid, and his beautiful tan. Is that it for Sid?
Yeah, no, it's more a red face, Daniel. You caught me halfway through the holidays. I'm not quite finished yet, so I'm not the finished article.
Where are you?
I'm on the east coast of Spain, where the eclipse was very impressive, or it would have been if it hadn't been for that really big cloud that came along.
I love it. Fantastic. Let's talk Barcelona, Sid, as we have quite a lot over the last couple of weeks with Alex Kirkland, who said yes, as you were off looking at the eclipse. Obviously, the plan is to bring in Julian Alvarez. What if that doesn't happen, and why did they let Ferran Torres go without the knowledge that the Argentinian was actually going to join?
Well, I think the answer to the second question is that really and truly the two things weren't dependent. I think even if they'd recognised and accepted that Ferran Torres was, that Julian Alvarez wasn't going to come, and of course they're going to keep fighting for that, and they're going to hope that they can get that deal over the line. Is that Ferran is in the last year of his contract. Part of the clause of the original signing meant that it would have cost him an extra 8 million euros to be able to keep him beyond this contract and extend him for another year. He wanted more first team minutes, although I'm not convinced that he's going to get them at Paris Saint-Germain. He wanted a higher salary, and the bottom line is that they looked at this and thought, given the costs involved, is this the player that we want? And they decided no. Now, that doesn't depend upon the Julian Alvarez deal, but it is, of course, true that if you take a step back and you look at Rashford has gone, Robert Lewandowski has gone, Ferran Torres has gone. That's nearly 60 goals from last season that have gone. And if you don't get centre forward, whether it's Julian Alvarez or someone else, then to be honest, you're starting to worry about it a little bit. Now, of course, they've made 2 signings in wide positions. And they've now got loads of attacking players in wide positions. So there is that possibility that one of those theoretically wide players plays through the middle and that they believe that can work. And there's been some suggestions, for example, that Deco thinks that Anthony Gordon can play that role, or at least can play that role at times. And there are alternatives, but there is no 2 ways about it. They're not the alternatives that Barcelona wanted to be relying on.
We talked about it with James. They weren't as optimistic about the future of Rodri compared to what we're seeing in the Spanish press. They think it's almost inevitable he'll be going to Barcelona.
Yeah, and ask yourself the question, I suppose, which is if it was inevitable a week ago when they told us it was basically done, apart from the small matter of agreeing a deal with Man City, and it turns out that's not such a small matter. And I find it extraordinary how often this happens. That we like, it's all right, everything's okay, it's going to happen. So, well, we haven't even seen the negotiations begin yet. And so now, look, of course, Barcelona believe that this will eventually happen. Of course, they'll believe it will eventually happen, if nothing else, because Rodri deserves to get the deal that he wants and the move that he wants, and Manchester City will recognise that. At least that's the Barcelona perspective on it. Now, of course, Manchester City's view on that is, that's all well and good. And he's been brilliant for us, and we admire him. We want him to have the move that he wants, and we know that he's going to go for nothing in a year's time. But, this is still business. And we still want the right fee for him to happen. And I must admit, I think we have reached a point. Now, I still believe it will probably go through, but we have reached a point. But I think it's entirely legitimate to say, whoa, hang on a minute, this absolutely done deal, which clearly wasn't done, what happens if it doesn't get done at all?
He was flying on Ryanair, which gone viral, obviously, Sid, as well, I sat next to Fernando Torres on an EasyJet flight once. I'm sure he still talks about it.
Well, I'm sure he does. In fact, only the other day, Ferran Torres putting an Instagram post up saying, that time I was with Dan Thomas. I pretended to be asleep for the entire flight. I couldn't have spared before.
Very nice. Most famous person you've ever sat next to sitting on a flight?
Probably you.
Yeah, good. It's the right answer. Well done. Thank you very much. Kieran just sits next to a mirror, looks at himself, and goes, oh yeah, thank you very much.